so good, isn't he?
Oh, all the time.
Oh, wow. Just watching these babies.
That's what I was thinking.
Right.
Precious children.
Yeah. We should have just got the train going with everybody. It says, what does it say? A little child shall lead them. So they come up here with total abandonment to worship, don't they? They come up here just ready to just, you know, you can see some of them singing, you can see some of them dancing. Dante has some new moves. You can see some of them just walking, but they're learning how to express themselves to the Maker. They're learning how to have freedom of worship, and that's what we desire here, isn't it? Doesn't matter what what your background is, you can have freedom to lift your hands, to stomp your feet, to move, to do anything. God created our bodies to worship Him. He created every aspect of us to worship Him, didn't He?
Amen.
And that's what He desires. He desires us to worship Him in spirit and in truth. Well, Pastor Bob is in Branson, and he's had an amazing time. He was called up. They asked if anybody was going out of the country, and so in the next few weeks, and he, raised his hand, and so they called the people that were going out of the country to minister to come forward, and Brother Copeland actually prayed for Bob and had a word for him. So it's a pretty powerful time. Of course, he couldn't hardly talk when I was talking to him. But it was shortly after that, and he was still pretty emotional. But he has been expecting and anticipating this trip for months. And it has been everything above and beyond what he ever anticipated, he said. He has a mandate from God. He feels that he has a word for us on Wednesday night. So he is asking me to implore you all, that's the word he used, implore them to please be there Wednesday night. If at all possible, be there Wednesday night, because he said he has a mandate from God, and he's excited about it, and he wants all of us to be there Wednesday night. We are working on childcare. I'm sure we will have it, so that shouldn't be an obstacle. So I will use the word again that he used. Implore them to be there Wednesday night, if at all possible. It's going to be a powerful time of worship, a powerful time in the Word. So be there. So, and he will be back tonight, a little bit later, and then he leaves Saturday for Ghana. Well, he actually leaves for Indiana. He's preaching Sunday morning in Pastor David Guernsey's church in Indiana, and then Pastor David Guernsey, right after service, is driving him to Louisville, Kentucky, and he's meeting Pastor Jack and Pastor Jim at the Louisville airport, and they're flying off to Ghana Sunday. So, and we've had, if some of you weren't here earlier, we've had all the funds that we had anticipated have come in. So we are excited. We are very excited. I sent him a text and told him that, and he was so excited because, his first thought was, now I can help with that other pastor that's coming, help pay for some of his. I thought, well, this is terrible, okay, please forgive me. But I'm thinking, you got a little bit of a cushion. And then he's like, no, now I can help pay for this other guy. So, this other pastor that is originally from Ghana is going with them. So he's going to help pay for his ticket too. So we have been blessed. And that's what our blessing box is all about. It's about foreign missions. Our here mission is the base program, and we have been blessed by them too, haven't we? God is so good. So in Philippians, I guess it'd help if I put on my glasses. I read in this book, I highly recommend, if you've never seen it before, I highly recommend this book, Sparkling Gems from the Greek by Rick Renner. He has the largest church in Moscow in Russia. He's from the States, but they set out when their children were young and left for Russia because they had a mandate from God what they needed to do, and so they have just, exponentially expanded. They were the first to have a radio station that preached the gospel in Russia, and it just continues to grow. They continue to do amazing things. He is a steadfast disciple of God, so I trust, and he is a Greek scholar, so what he does in here is kind of just shows you in common terms how to understand the things from the Greek, so I love it. Today it was, what race is God asking you to run? In Philippians 1:6 it says, being confident of this very thing, that he which hath begun a good work in you will perform it until the day of Jesus Christ. What God started in you when he saved you, he's going to finish. He's going to perform a good work in you. He's going to enable you. He's going to equip you. He's going to give you the gifts that you need to perform what he's called you to do, because he's a good God and he loves you. He gave his son for you because he loves you and he wants to prosper you and keep you in health and all those things. They went through a lot of challenges, and there was just one thing I just wanted to bring out in this, one little phrase that he uses, because I thought it's so powerful and we need to think about it. He says, you will never know what God can do.
Never know what God will do.
Yeah, oh, that's a good idea. You'll never know what God can do.
You'll never know what God can do.
Unless you do something that gives him, I'll do it slower. Unless you do something that gives him the opportunity to show you.
That gives him the opportunity to show him.
Let that sink in for a minute. Let it sink in for a minute. You'll never know what the possibilities of God are unless you do something, unless you step out in faith on something and give him the opportunity to show you. We stepped out in faith on this Ghana trip, and the finances, were not there at first. But we believed with everything in us that that's what he was called to do. And now the finances have come in overflowing. That's our God, isn't it? Overflowing, above and beyond what we needed has come in. Overflowing. Because he's a good God, isn't he? And that's what he desires to do in all of our lives. All of our lives. He wants to bring us to a point where in Foundations, it was powerful this morning. Vince always does an excellent job, but it was just powerful this morning. When we keep our focus on the things that God desires us to do and not look at the circumstances, we can prosper and we can go forward in God's plan for us. You know, when Paul was shipwrecked and landed on that island, what was it, Malta or something? Landed on that island. And he'd just been shipwrecked, mind you, lost the ship, didn't leave any lives, because God said, we won't lose lives, we'll lose the ship. I mean, he told them what was going to happen, because they wouldn't, listen to him. So, he's been shipwrecked, probably had to swim to shore, I imagine. He was shipwrecked. So, he's been through a few things, I would say. They went through this horrible storm, then the ship breaks up, and then he's swimming to shore. And then he gets to shore, and the natives there are helping them, and they built a fire for them. And they built this beautiful fire, and as Paul's putting some wood on it, this viper, this snake, poisonous snake, mind you, latches onto his hand. Latches onto his hand. Now, how many of us would go, I cannot believe this. After all I've been through, look what I just came through this shipwreck I just got, had to swim all this way. Look at what happened. Now the snake, grabs me and bites me. Are anybody else in this place guilty of some of that kind of an attitude at times? Everything keeps happening to me. Just one thing after another. One thing after another. I can't turn around and something else happens. Have you ever said those words? Every time I turn around, something bad is happening. Have you ever said those words? No. What does Paul do? I'm glad, Dante. What does Paul do?
Shakes it off.
Shakes it off. Does he say, oh my gosh, it's a poisonous snake? No, he just went. For those of you that are a little bit older, have you ever watched Bill Cosby? Fat Albert, the Cosby Kid. Fat Albert was this great big guy, kid that, everybody was trying to beat him up this one time, I guess. And somebody came up and they ganged up together and they ran into him. And when he says, what was that? A feather? That's the way I see Paul. What was that? A feather? It's a poisonous viper that bit him, and he didn't even think about it. All he did was shake it off. And you don't see anything where he said, oh my gosh, I need to pray. Oh my gosh. He had the authority in him. He knew what was rightfully his, and he wasn't daunted by a viper. The people there were like, this guy must be a murderer. This guy must be in big trouble, because look, he survived a shipwreck, and now he gets bit by a poisonous snake. And they were all waiting for him to die. I'm sure they were all looking at him, watching for a sign. Okay, is that venom working yet? Okay, what's happening now? Watch, because something's going to happen to this guy. Watch and see. Nothing, because he shook it off. That's what God wants us to see today. Shake it off. You got something going on in your life. Shake it off. Say, what is that, a feather? Every attack of the enemy that he tries to bring to you, shake it off. Just say, nope, not mine. I'm not receiving that. Send it back. Send it back where it came from, because I'm not receiving it, because I live in the victory. I am a child of the King. I have power. I have dominion. I have authority. I don't have to worry about any of those little things. Get away from me, devil. Just leave me alone, because you bit off more than you could chew this time.
Amen.
That's what Paul said. That's what he wants us to do, doesn't
He
it?
wants us to do that.
Yes, he wants us to stand in our authority. He wants us to say no to those attacks. He wants us to just take things in stride and just go for it. Just continue to go. Nothing is going to stop us. That song we just sang, nothing can change us. Nothing can stop us. Nothing can take us back, right?
Amen.
Amen. Hallelujah. Well, I had a lot more, but I guess that's what God wanted me to share. So, that's it. That's it. It was good, wasn't it? Sometimes you just get caught up and you want to share so much more, but that was it. Servers come. Hallelujah. God is so good, isn't he?